Welcome, everyone. Today, I'm so happy to have Daniel Hauge with me, a true professional, founder of Passion for Achievement and the #1 best-selling author. Welcome, Daniel.
Thanks, man. Glad to be here.
Amazing. I'm so happy about this. Can you tell us more about yourself, your background, what do you do, and stuff like that?
Absolutely. So very early in life, I was kind of off track. I wasn't really in school. I didn't really have a job. I wasn't taking care of myself. I was involved in a little bit of a crime and drug abuse and stuff like that. So I was really off track in life. I decided to turn that around. First, I got obsessed with personal growth. And then later on, I realized that if I'm going to build a world-class life, entrepreneurship is going to have to do something with that, right? So personal growth and entrepreneurship kind of just became the vehicles or the tools that I was going to use to build what I wanted for myself and for my friends and my family and my loved ones, right? So that has translated into a career where I'm now an author, and I run a company called Passion for Achievement, where for a long time we've been selling products, basically, so ebooks and digital courses and all these things. And also I'm doing more personal work with clients, and essentially who we help are online entrepreneurs that are trying to maximize performance in and out of business. So we're trying to kind of optimize their lifestyle by putting in place certain systems that kind of make everything easier and so they perform better. Yeah.
That's amazing. So, all right, let's start from the beginning, shall we? So, taking you back to your old self, you were a warehouse worker, right?
Yes, correct.
So, a warehouse worker, did you have a plan back then that took you to where you are now?
Yes, so when I finally decided to turn my life around, I started getting different low-paying jobs. I started as a cashier, as a dishwasher, all these jobs, and then eventually I got a warehouse job. And so at that point, I was already super committed to building a big life, and I knew that it was going to be through entrepreneurship. I just kind of wanted to really see what all my personal development, high performance stuff could do in more of a corporate arena. So I just went all in when I was at that warehouse job. I still have my, I still have my entrepreneurial dreams and goals on the side, but I was just working. I was trying to climb the ladder, not because I wanted to be, at the top of the warehouse ever, but I just wanted to prove to myself that if I wanted to go the job route, I could do that. And also I wanted to prove to myself that all this high performance stuff worked. And it certainly did. I very quickly started getting more responsibilities. I started getting management roles. And then once I'd kind of proven those two things to myself, again, the first one that I could excel in a normal job environment, and the second one being that my personal development and high performance stuff works, I just went all in on business after that.
All right, that's interesting. So, in a warehouse environment, you said you were climbing up the ladder, right? So, did you have a choice between, let's say, you keep going on that ladder and you giving that up and just go into entrepreneurship straight away?
Yeah, so I was kind of building my business on the side. It started by me just selling. I had my book out, right, and I had my ebooks. I was starting to many of these personal development things that I was really passionate about. I was sharing them in digital products and all of that. So I kind of grew that more and more, and so then eventually I could do that full time. And then once I started being this full-time entrepreneur, I started kind of niching down to working with entrepreneurs now that I've been an entrepreneur as well. But it started out just being like more generic personal growth stuff that I was sharing with people.
All right, sounds good. So on your book, The 7 Pillars of World-Class Lifestyle, you wrote that most people lack all of the pillars, and I was wondering if that's actually true, and if so, why do you think that is?
That's correct. So the PDF there on my website, the 7 Pillars of World-Class Life, I talk about the areas of life that I believe are really important to have, well, a world-class life, right? Because some people will maybe have one of those, some people have maybe two of those. But I
Yeah.
think, first of all, I think most people aren't even aware of what exactly they want from life. So when I say that most people lack all these pillars, that's
Mm.
maybe even giving them a little bit too much credit. I'm not gonna hate on people, right? But
Yeah.
people have very, very little clarity. So
Mm.
they're probably not even really sure what exactly it is that they want in life. And so that PDF is supposed to help them do that. Some of these pillars that I talk about in the PDF are
Mm.
freedom, their health, um,
Yeah.
impact, contribution, all these things. And I think most people would, in all of those areas, would rather
Hmm.
be at another level than what they're currently at. Now, there
Right.
may be a bigger gap with some areas than others. So, for example, my health, I may
Hmm.
feel like I'm actually doing all right with that mentally, physically, emotionally, but my
Hmm.
relationships are terrible, or vice versa, right? So,
Yeah.
so I think there's a bigger gap between where I am and where I'd like to be with
Mm.
some areas compared to others. I think that's the case for most people. So, if there are some of these areas where you feel like, I've completely nailed that. I have the exact amount of freedom that I'd like to have in my life, or I have the exact amount
Hmm.
of impact on the world that I'd like to have. Congratulations, that's awesome. You've won on those areas. You can focus on maximizing the other areas, right? So,
Yeah.
but I think most people really would like to be in a different place than just about everything that matters to them.
That's cool. So if there is someone who is a bit confused and they don't know what's their expectations should be, what would you say to that specific person?
Yeah, I just think clarity is huge. I think I know you're
Hmm.
very interested in football. I used to play a
Hmm.
lot of football as well, and
Yeah.
someone told me this analogy when I was young. He said, imagine you're on a football field and there are no goals,
Mm.
right? So you still have the teammates, you still have the opponents, you still have everything, but there are no goals. So where are you going to kick the ball? Where are you going to run? Where are you going to,
Mm.
how are you going to teamwork? How are you going to defeat the opponents? How are you going to, when do you know when you've scored? When do you know when you've failed? Basically, you're just a headless chicken if you don't have the goals, right? You're just running
Yeah.
around. You're not really sure why. And I
Mm.
feel like, once again, I'm not trying to offend people or anything like that, but I,
Yeah.
I, I feel like just about everyone, including maybe even me, could be even more clear on what it is that they want than
Mm.
they currently are. So that's
Yeah.
actually what the PDF on the website is supposed to help people with, is getting really
Mm.
clear on things like what are your values, and then we talk
Mm.
about the layers of those values. So I
Mm.
may say I value freedom, but I would like to go even deeper and say, well, that means I have freedom of time, I have freedom of location. So, for example, everything I've done today, I could have done
Important.
from yeah,
Yeah.
everything I've done today, I could have done from a cafe in Turkey or some hotel in Japan. I could have,
Exactly.
I have the freedom of location. If that's important to you, then that's something you would have to kind of design your business around. If it's not
Mm.
important to you, then maybe there's something else that's important. So we dive deeper into these layers of the values. And I've found with myself and my clients, once you're building your life and your business around these strengths, around these values, you're just gonna perform so much better, and you'll avoid
Mm.
burnout, overwhelm, unnecessary stress, all these
Yeah.
things. So yeah, I would encourage
Hmm.
everyone to get really clear on what is it that they want from life, and then kind of design a life around those pillars, those values.
Hmm. All right. That sounds good. Obviously, it's not always easy to do that, and if you have a guide, a coach, your book, especially, it can be much easier for people to relate and actually take action towards the goals, right? So, if you could give only one tip to your younger self in the beginning of your journey, what would you say to him particularly?
That's very difficult because I'm always kind of afraid of going back and changing something about the past because
Yeah.
I'm very happy about where I am today.
Mm.
So, but I think it would just be kind of more of a reaffirming thing, then it would be new information. I think I would kind of just tell him that, look, this thing you're doing, where
Mm-hmm.
you're getting clear on what it is that you want, and then you're building systems that consistently make you progress through what it is that you want.
Yeah.
And then you're kind of scaling that through momentum, and you're just doing that consistently. This thing you're doing, you should keep doing that. It's gonna work.
Yeah.
And you're on the right track. I think I'll tell that to myself, because most of my struggles, especially with entrepreneurship, have been a little bit more doubt based, you know.
Yeah.
For example, like for example, right now I'm going on a bit of a podcast tour. I have maybe 40 podcasts this month alone. And many
Okay.
of those are going to be released like in 3 months. And then in 3 months, I'll start seeing if it did anything for my personal brand, right? So sometimes you're going to have to do stuff without seeing the results immediately.
Yeah.
And that's scary and it's difficult. And sometimes the motivation isn't there when you are not seeing the results immediately. So I would just tell myself to, keep going. Don't doubt it. It's going to work. Trust the process. And maybe even go, even harder on it, because it will
Yeah.
it will work.
100%. How important is momentum for you?
I had a mentor, actually one of the first mentors I had in life. He said the two things in life that scared him the most were momentum and a lack of momentum. And obviously,
Right.
having momentum is scary in a good way, because you're just running through brick walls. You're just crushing your goals and you're just unstoppable. And
Yeah.
a lack of momentum is scary in a bad way, because that's when we see people kind of get stuck. It's where we see people start doubting themselves. Their confidence goes down, their productivity levels goes down. So momentum is a huge, huge thing. And the way I look at momentum, you can kind of look at it as a kind of like a recurring thing. So if let's say with your habits and your systems, so let's say last week you worked out 3 times per week,
Yeah.
40 minutes at a time. Perhaps this week you can do 3 times per week, 45 minutes, right? If you did 40 minutes last week, you can probably do 45 minutes this week. If you read 6 pages of a book before you went to bed yesterday, you can probably read 7 tonight, right? So you can kind of scale the momentum with your habits by increasing the volume or intensity or frequency. But then also you can talk about momentum on a per project basis. So for example, when I wrote my book, it took me 6 months, and that's 285 pages or something, the best-selling book, and it was like 80,000 words. And it's like, how do you begin writing that? Well, first of all, you need to get started, and then once you're started with that, you can kind of build the momentum on that project as well. So you have momentum for your habits, your systems, and you also have it for your projects. And even on a smaller scale, if I'm writing for an hour today, even just getting that hour started, you gotta build some momentum, and you can then enjoy that ride once you have it. So momentum is huge. It's really, really huge.
You know, I would say in certain circumstances, when you have a certain long-term goal, and then you break this down into smaller parts with monthly, weekly, and even daily goals. If you change your short-term goals to achieve the long-term goal in an easier, let's say, or maybe what's a better term, to achieve the same goal in a different way under the certain circumstances that you're currently living, is that still momentum, or that breaks the momentum?
So you're saying I have a long-term goal and I set some short-term goals in order to achieve that, and then I kind of adjust the short-term goals to...
And then, adjust them, or maybe change them into something that you think might be better doing?
Yeah, I think that's good. I think it's good. I think the long-term goal is what matters. And so if you're looking to go to this destination, I think getting there is what matters. And if you're let's say you're driving and you want to go to this destination, and you're driving and you reach somewhere, there's a block or a stoppage, or there's some construction, whatever. It doesn't really matter that you take that exact road. You can just go around it. or you can find another way. And then as
Yeah.
long as you get to that destination, I think that's absolutely what matters. So
Mm.
adjusting what you're doing is key. I think especially if you have some kind of feedback loop.
Mm-hmm.
So for example, let's say I am pitching 10 big podcasts and none of them respond, or maybe they all say, oh no, we're not interested.
Yeah.
Then I have to kind of look at, okay, well, why is that? And I have to
Why?
change something about my pitch. I have to change something about my whatever. Same thing if you're
Yeah.
on a basketball court and you're kind of shooting 3-pointers and
Yeah,
you're not
yeah.
hitting the rim, right? You gotta adjust. And so if you have a feedback loop and you can kind of adjust that way, I think that's really, really good to do while you're moving. That's
Mhm.
important because some people will stay in the garage and they will wait for every single light between where they are now and their destination
Yeah.
to be green before they
Mm.
even leave the garage. And that's perfectionism. That's not good. That's different. So
Mm.
you gotta get in the car, you gotta get going, and then you kind of adjust as you go. I think that's the way to go.
That's so inspiring as well. You know, at certain points in somebody's life, and certainly specifically with you, have you ever felt of, you know what, I've done everything in my power to get this done. I failed, but I don't see myself like improving anything because everything I've done, it looks perfect to me. Have you ever thought about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously there are some things in life that are outside of our control. So first of all, I would look to do everything that I could in my control, in my power, right? But also I think if you feel like you've done everything that you're capable of and you haven't seen the result, perhaps there is something that you're not capable of that you should be capable of that would get you
Right.
to your goal. So I saw a talk, I think it was Alex Hauge who actually talked about this, and someone was on stage and he asked a random woman, how much are you making per year? She said 50,000. And
Yeah.
then he said, how much would you like to be making? She said, 1 million. And he said, you're paying $950,000 per year for not knowing how to make $1 million, right? So if you're not getting the results with everything you're trying to do, there's something that you don't know, or there's a person you're not connected to that you should be connected to, or there's something that
Yeah.
you gotta read or learn or whatever. So I think there's certainly a way, but mostly what I try to do is I try to focus on input. And that's something I'm experimenting with a lot lately, because I've always been kind of an output guy. You know, I want to make this amount of money by this date. I want to have this many podcasts. I want to have this many, whatever. But I'm experimenting with going a lot more into the input. So
Yes.
instead of saying, I would like to have 10 new clients next month, I would rather say, I'm going to reach out to 1,000 leads, or maybe instead of saying I would like to be on 20 podcasts, I would rather say I'm going to reach out to 500, because I can control the input more. And so obviously you got to know where you're trying to go output wise. You want to have these ideas of how much money you want to be making, how many clients you want to have, how much you want to bench in the gym, whatever. But I think focus as much as you can on the process, on input. And then I think the results will be a lot bigger and they'll come quicker.
Yeah, I see. That's clear now. So we have also got a bonus section where basically I say a phrase or a word and you answer with one word, first thought that comes to your mind. That's a fun one.
Yeah.
So, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Good. I was born ready. It's the right answer.
Yeah.
So, first one. Work has workers.
Wasted potential.
Early struggle.
Crucial.
Wild success.
Attainable.
Lifestyle.
Designable. I don't know if that's a word, but it's something you can design. It's not something that should happen to you.
Mm-hmm.
It's something you should design. But yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Work-life balance.
Misunderstood.
Mm-hmm. We can come back to that one. Passion for achievement.
Purpose.
Mm-hmm. Future.
Impact.
Mm-hmm. And last one, world-class lifestyle.
Available. I think it's available to everyone listening.
Mm-hmm. That's nice. You know, in the work-life balance, why do you think misunderstood?
Yeah, I think especially for entrepreneurs, it's very, very difficult. You know, if you're in
Mm-hmm.
the normal 9 to 5, sometimes I would be working 12-hour days, 14-hour days at the
Yeah.
warehouse. But then when I came home, I'm off. I can do whatever I want. I can do Netflix. I can just hang out with people. I can just,
Yeah.
completely just do whatever I want. Whereas when you're an entrepreneur, you're very often in this kind of you're almost kind of working a little bit, or at least a lot of entrepreneurs are. For me, I woke up at 5 a.m. yesterday. I had some work, and then I had my last podcast ended at 11 p.m. yesterday, and then so the entire day is kind of work.
Yeah.
So I think for a lot of entrepreneurs and freelancers, we hear this work-life balance thing, and we kind of think, okay, if I'm working 4 hours, then I have to take an hour off. I have to cuddle my dog for every meeting I take or whatever. And it becomes this, if this, then that. So if I work, I have to relax. If I work, I have to have some fun. If I work, and then when you do it that way, everything becomes a competition. So every time you're working, you're kind of taking away from your health and your relationships and your hobbies. And every time you're doing one of those things, you're taking away from your business. And this is something that a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with, and that it causes them to actually stress even more because they're trying to have this perfect work-life balance. What I try to do instead with clients is we're trying to figure out what exactly is it that you want, and then we design we design your life and your routines, your systems around these things. So for some people, that means they work 12 hours per day. For some, it's 4 hours per day. For some people, it means working out 3 hours per day. For some, it's 1 hour every other day, maybe, right? So I think it's better to look at it as everything kind of working together.
Yeah.
Instead of it being kind of like a balance where if you do this, then you must also do this. I don't like the word too much, actually.
It's like a
so
system, let's say.
Yeah.
I see. That's great. So any last tips or maybe perspectives to people watching from you?
I would just say, whether you're an entrepreneur or a freelancer or whatever you are, identify very clearly what exactly it is that you want. Put in some systems where every time this system happens, which could be daily, I'm getting closer to exactly what it is that I want. And then you scale those systems through momentum, and you keep doing that. And by doing that way, I think I know for a fact you will perform in business, but also outside of business, which is what we're all about. So that's
That's lovely. And that was Daniel Haugen, ladies and gentlemen.